Opening program parameters. Player code established. Welcome to the program. A production of themetalrobot.com.
Nobody cares about the robot gimmick. Just start the fucking show already.
Humans are determined assholes. This is the Metal Robot Podcast. Initializing host playback.
Welcome to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast, the podcast about all things metal and everything in between. How many people have seen Tommy Lee's dick this week? Anybody? I'm seeing way too many hands in the Loudwire camp. Are you guys his pimp or something? What's going on here? I see many uncomfortable people saying yes, and the ones with bags under their eyes, frizzled hair, and a 5 o'clock shadow are reluctantly saying yes again. That aside, we've got a jam-packed show for you today. Atavistia is here to talk about that hilarious t-shirt design, plus Kilfeather released a new album this week. Let's talk to him about it and so much more. In the Metal News Recap, Metallica were loved by y'all. Now those same people want to cancel them. Plus, Spotify is trying something new. Curious to know if it'll flop. But coming up in a few short moments, let's take a crack at that first Arch Enemy album in 5 years, plus more of Metal's newest releases. All this and more, so let's not waste much more time and let's get into the show. I'm Tom McKay, and this is the Metal Robot Podcast.
You're listening to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast.
Welcome back to the show. Back to normal for us for sure, though, of course, with metal, normal is a rarity and usually shunned by society. Unless, of course, you are normal in metal, in which case, what is that like? What are you? Quick thing before we get into the metal reviews here. I realized this week while working on this show that an album I reviewed in the last episode, Carrion Vale's Abhorrent Obsessions, was not released last week. Apparently, I don't know what happened, but apparently when I downloaded the promo copy and set the date in the file name so that I know when it comes out, which I usually do for all of them, plus it's easier to find, I put 0805 as the release date, when in reality, it didn't come out until 0812. I saw that, I was like, oh, fuck, sorry guys. Thankfully, I haven't been reamed out by their PR reps for that, which I totally would have been in most cases. I guess in this case, there wasn't a proper disclaimer saying, do not play this on a podcast until release date or unless you have special permissions. So, I don't know, but to Carrion Vale, if you're listening to this, hopefully you like the review. I don't know, but I hope the release is going great for you nonetheless. In the meantime, though, let's get into this week's releases. We've got quite a bit of ground to cover here, so let's not waste too much time. But one thing before we get started, if you have any albums you want me to talk about on future episodes of the podcast, send me an email, tmckay@themetalrobot.com. That's tmckay@themetalrobot.com. Don't use Gmail and don't put an extra A in my last name. The email will bounce. Or you can reach out on my socials, Facebook and Twitter @themetalrobot, Instagram @the.metalrobot. Use the hashtag Metal Robot Podcast so I can find you. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at what we've got. First album in 5 years from the Swedish with a dash of Canadian melodic death metal band Arch Enemy, Deceivers. Yes, the pandemic probably didn't help with the timeline, but still glad we have something at the end of it all. And boy, does this album come out swinging. 46 minutes of absolute fire. Front to back, the entire band is firing on all cylinders to deliver a great collection of dark and catchy riffs, pounding drums, thick bass lines, those fucking solos, and, of course, teeth-gritting vocals from the one Canadian in the group. Shit, those teeth are so cut, you could probably make a dam out of those, eh? You're damn right I did a Canadian joke. True North, strong and free, but not free from making fun of ourselves. Any problems with that? We'll take it out back behind the igloo and we'll have the moose referee, okay? Now, standout tracks already. The singles do great for this album. Deceiver, Sunset Over the Empire, and Handshake with Hell are massive bangers. Great moments throughout and overall, and awesome sound throughout. Thrashing, grooving, and melodic as well. Now, actually, funny thing, when I did my reaction and review to the single Deceiver on the main YouTube channel back in May, oof, I promise there's more videos coming, just hold on. I mentioned a few things that I found repeated quite a bit throughout the entirety of the album, including the bass. I did mention it's thick, but unless it's given its own time, it's a bit hard to tell what the bass is actually doing, as they're mostly setting the root of the chords and also following the guitars, which isn't anything new for this genre, and it doesn't really detract from the rest of the album, but I would have loved to hear the bass go off on its own a few times to stand out amongst the rest. Overall, though, no real complaints. It's fairly similar to previous albums from this band and in this genre, but as a Melodeath fan, I have nothing but love for more Melodeath when I can get it. Plus, the fact that Alyssa is allowed to show off her powerful clean singing more often is a great touch to hear. She's still growling harder than a tiger guarding its dinner, but given how well Reason to Believe was received off the last album, it's nice that they're allowed to experiment with adding more melody in the vocals when they can. Also, once again, a great use of synth choirs, and were those real strings on Poison Arrow? I don't know, but it worked. Great album overall, glad to have the band back, 13.5 out of 15. It might not bring on detractors, but still another fantastic addition to the collection. You know, I gotta hand it to Joseph Isaiah. The dude is part of a lot of great projects, but sometimes projects on the surface look so fucking stupid that you just have to check it out. Like out of morbid curiosity or something like that. Like for example, this new one, Bleed Like Miley, and the debut album Nuksu Cow, featuring an album cover that looks like it came from a 2000s PlayStation 1 graphics card and 5 minutes of early Photoshop. It's a striking cover for sure, so of course I gotta check it out. What I got was a solid 22 minutes of crushing early 2000s metalcore. Hey, turns out the album art was intentional. Huh. Bravo. Bravo. But that sound is so refreshing to hear. Every metalcore band nowadays is trying to sound like everybody else, and they're all going for that kind of Architect, Tesseract type of 8 or 9 string metalcore while not doing anything different from each other. It's like that meme of the store full of Buzz Lightyears and one of them is like, I'm special! And sure, in this case, the sound Bleed Like Miley gives us isn't terribly different from that kind of sound that bands like Killswitch Engage, Bleeding Through, and Hatebreed made popular, but having fun with the sound and giving it their own spin like what Oakley Dokley is doing, though less gimmicky, of course. Or fucking stupid, let's be real. Creative melodic riffs, grooving drums that hit harder than a drunk daddy, also some more fun guitar textures that would make Tom Morello proud, so long as he's not getting tackled by security, and of course, Joseph Isaiah's vocals. How many times have I said this dude has a powerful shout? Fantastic clean singing in the choruses too as well. My god! This is an EP that front to back gives you what you want out of a metalcore sound. It doesn't stray too far from the norm, but it's still a solid album. My only real complaint is the bass. It's the same complaint with every metalcore act these days. They don't get creative with the low end, and they just decide to follow the guitars. It's much easier than just creating your own thing. And yeah, sometimes that works. Sometimes you don't want to go off and do your own thing. But much like with Arch Enemy, I wish the bass could get creative and try something new. Like harmonize with the guitars a little, do a cool lick, pull a reverse Metallica and turn down the kick drum when the rest of the band leaves. Something, anything, I don't know. But still, at the end of it all, my gripes aside, a solid metalcore debut for a solid metalcore sound. 13 out of 15, check it out and keep your ears to the ground in case the bass player takes his revenge. The Halo Effect Days of the Lost, the debut album from this project featuring some of the legends of the Swedish metal scene. First off, I gotta give props to Matt Heafy of Trivium for recommending this. Not to me personally, he didn't send a message like, Tom, check this out. Otherwise, that's all you'd be hearing about out of my Trivium fanboy ass. And I gotta say, I see where he's coming from here. Holy shit, this might be one of the best Melodeath albums I've heard all year. And yeah, it has that sound to it that gets you pumped, gets you moshing, and makes a typical workout at the gym a bit more aggressive to onlookers. Apparently, as well, the members of this project were early influences for Matt Heafy and early Trivium albums, and listening to songs like Shadow Minds, Conditional, and the title track, it's easy to see how, and easy to understand why, a Trivium fanboy would eat the shit out of the album like a trip to IHOP. Or IHOP. Honestly, I don't know what they're called now, but you get what I'm saying. As for this album, yeah, I have no reason to not like this album. I have no reason to not tell you what a great album this is. It's a fantastic debut release from this project. Tight rhythms in the guitars, fantastic lead melodies, and a great production overall. The drums are awesome too. I wish you could feel them a bit more, but it's only a minor nitpick. They still sit well in the mix. Plus, with the bass, you can hear it. It's still copying the guitars when needed, but because these guys get creative with the riffs and leads, the bass is free to do more in the bottom end. Plus, I like the fact that the clang of the bass is still audible in some places. That lack of perfection is so great to hear and to feel too. Each song as well has their own identity to it. You listen to a chorus or a break on this album and can immediately pinpoint where it is on the record. Each song has a great variety in composition as well as in other sections, with each song evolving within itself and keeping your attention glued. It's no wonder Matt Heafy was so quick to plug it. The skill and talent on this is undeniable, and wait, what's that on track 9?
So when reality comes to your door.
Oh, that explains the plug. I'll give you that one. You got us to listen, so bravo, I'll give you that one. But for real, one of the best mellow death albums of 2022 and a huge contender for Album of the Year. 14.5 out of 15. I look forward to being proven wrong. Pulse's Dragonfly just came out this past Friday through Dark Star Records. A part of me actually wasn't going to cover this album. Usually before selecting an album for review, I'll read what the presser says they are to get an idea of what they are and make sure that they, would sit in the jurisdiction of this podcast before downloading the album and taking up file space on my hard drive. Totally the most important part. And I saw that these guys were classified as rock, not metal. So I was like, a bit out of my wheelhouse here, probably want to get something with a bit more teeth. By the way, Stupid Past Me didn't even hit play on this album yet. Not sure why. Rock is usually a bit vague, so I don't know why I didn't hit play before deciding, but I kept reading and I saw a band quote that changed my mind quickly. Quote, "This album is our most diverse yet. I think Dragonfly is the perfect name for an album that can move in so many directions musically, and thus an easier target you just could not have given to a comedian than that." I was like, well, we'll see about that. Oh, fuck. I love it. I love it when it looks like a band overreaches when describing their albums. It's fucking sick. So I download and hit play, and 40 minutes later, all you hear from me is, fuck, they were right. Oh, part of me is tempted to give a bad score just because they proved me wrong. You're sitting there like, you're not that petty, are you? We'll find out, won't we? First, right out of the gate though, the press release I feel was a bit misleading. Again, the whole thing about the rockers or rock is a bit vague on what they actually sound like. But listening to Dragonfly, while it's hard to call it heavy metal, it's more hard rock or alt metal at the very least. And front to back, you're given strong, crushing production. The vocals sound great, the drums do sound a bit more processed to the point of sounding sample replaced, but they're still sounding pretty great in the mix. Plus the bass, while not doing too much, fills out that low end nicely. I will say, the diverse soundscape I'm realizing isn't really coming from the soundscape. Well, maybe a little, but I realize it's mostly from the abundance of covers on this album. I can't find every single one, or maybe I have and I just have no clue what's original and what's not because the band didn't fucking label them, but still, their covers of Wrecking Ball and Like a Prayer keep the original identity of those songs surprisingly well, especially when transposing it to a harder sound. Though I'll admit, the second I recognized it was Wrecking Ball I was listening to, it was the funniest thing I've heard in a long time. Nothing to do with the vocals at all. I just wasn't expecting edgy Hannah Montana to then get made into a rock album and thrown onto my desk. It caught me off guard for sure. I didn't see it coming. But still, it sounds great, and the stuff that I think are their original material sounds just as great and well produced. Catchy, pumping, heavy, the kind of stuff that you would probably find your local rock station playing. Definitely not for the black-and-hearted, but with a 13.5 out of 15, it's a great sounding album front to back. Soik! 3 out of 15. You're damn right on that, Betty. Get fucked. And that's it for reviews. Like I said earlier, send your emails to tmckay@themetalrobot.com or reach out on my socials for any albums you would like covered on the podcast or on the main YouTube show. Later on in the show, Atavistia will join us, plus our weekly metal news recap returns with something besides Satan. Unless, of course, that's what Tommy Lee calls his dong. But first, we'll sit down with Kevin Kilfeather right here on the Metal Robot Podcast.
15 plus artists, multiple cultures, multiple languages, one
Almost unpronounceable name. What the fuck does it say?
It's pronounced homoousius.
How? There's 20 O's!
It's Latin. What'd you expect?
the ultimate collaboration project of 2022.
Homoousius, a symphonic, death, blackened, thrashing, grooving core fest.
The Axeman of New Orleans is back. No, wait, I meant in metal with a new song from Dust Prophet.
Could you not have led with that?
Sure, but then you wouldn't have done the contractually obligated scream that I can now use for exciting purposes. Watch, Dust Prophet have a new song. Here's another one. The tent broke off, so they're giving away free beer to everyone. Yes!
I hate you.
When the Axe Falls, new fuzzed out jam from the New Hampshire Fuzz Rockers, Dust Prophet.
Available on Bandcamp. Link down in the podcast description. You're listening to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast.
All right, welcome back. This is the Metal Robot Podcast with your host, Tom McKay. My first guest can be best described by his website as psych rock, which refers to a hazy concoction of garage rock and roll mixed with dingy elements of punk, classic metal, and pop music. Me, I just call it the result of the Sex Pistols and Guns N' Roses having a night of bad shrooms and 2 aged bottles of Habsburg. But if you're already high based on the track that I played in the beginning there, you're in for a really good time. The album that just released this week at the time of this release is Armchair Revolutionaries, featuring the most Woodstock-looking portrait of my guest, Kilfeather. K. Kilfeather. How you doing today?
Good. How the hell are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So, before we get into this any further, I wanted to ask you, just to get us warmed up here, who is K. Kilfeather? Can I say Kevin Kilfeather? Is that okay? Or do you want to stick with K. Kilfeather? Okay. Who is Kevin Kilfeather beyond the stuff I mentioned that I totally didn't pull from your website?
You know what? I'm just a humble, freaky guitar player. I've been playing most of my life, and over the year, fronting various bands, and going on tours and doing this stuff with projects of different names. Over time, just kind of had so many lineup changes and name changes that somewhere around 2006, I just decided to start compiling my own, music under my own name. And, all the projects that I had beforehand, I had done the writing and the lyrics and the composing all myself. But once again, lineup changes and band name changes over the years. I just figured, might as well take a cue from Rick Rubin and Danzig and just use my last name as the band name. And ever since then, just been releasing, recording, playing in my own solo band, touring, doing all that good stuff, man. So like I said, just kind of came out of me needing to solidify my own, career, so to speak. I don't like to use that word, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, it just to, alleviate some of the pressure of like, oh, we have a new guitar player, a new bass player, a new drummer. Okay. So I just was like, you know what? It's going to be my name. And then, I will have the rotating musicians throughout.
And then it'll be awkward when Kevin is like, okay, so I'm leaving Kilfeather.
Right.
I'm leaving it to somebody else here.
Exactly. Yeah. As soon as I get sick of myself, then,
Yeah, there you go. So I hear that you are from Las Vegas. Cue the Elvis clip.
Viva Las Vegas. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
Oh, but now you're residing in, I believe, San Diego. Is that correct, or has that changed?
Yeah. So I was born in California, raised in New York, and then somewhere along the line ended up in Las Vegas. Vegas is, a real kind of tough town when it comes to music and being a performer if you're not doing Elvis covers and dancing on the strip. So
yeah,
I got signed recently, about 2 years ago, and then was pretty much told I could go anywhere I want. So we were like, let's move to sunny California again. So we're back here in San Diego, and just enjoying the weather when I can.
And how has that been going? Because I hear the differences between San Diego and Las Vegas, especially compared to New York. They're all like so starkly different. How's that going for you?
It's actually going really well, man. I mean, so like I did have a band in Vegas, and after making the decision to move here, it's kind of tough to fly those guys out and or drive them out. So I ended up finding another band here in San Diego. And then we just started booking up, man. I mean, we recorded a new record. So I've got a new record recorded after Armchair Revolutionaries. And then we've already, I got this new group together. Just found 2 dudes within the scene, bass player, drummer. So we're keeping it like, the power trio. And found 2 dudes. We immediately learned a new record, recorded it. We're, producing it right now. And then just started booking up. So, I mean, we're booking all over San Diego and California right now. And then as soon as some more offers roll through, we're, planning on doing a little West Coast tour here and there. But yeah, man, like I said, right now, kind of just focusing on getting this new record done. I release a lot of material. So I have this new record coming out, or the new record will be released by the time this airs, Armchair Revolutionaries. And then my next record, A Momentary Lapse of Better Judgment. You heard it here first. That will be coming out sometime probably next year. We'll just be doing singles and videos and stuff like that. I mean, it's been kind of tough for me because I write records. I don't really write singles, and it's the singles market. So we're just taking it slow and trying to get things done one at a time. Because then also, that gives us some time to put out some more content and videos and all that kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, like I said, so just found these guys. San Diego has been really welcoming so far. And like I said, just booking up, man, finding cool little spots to play, and still going back to Vegas when I can, you know what I mean? But it's, you know what? Just keep it busy, man.
Just keeping busy.
Work,
Yeah, exactly. And on the note of the freaking only albums, not singles thing, it's either all balls to the wall or don't even try at all, right? I'm guessing that's the mindset here.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I'm taking it in stride and kind of just realizing that people have such small attention spans nowadays. They only want little bits at a time, you know what I mean? They want those little Spotify playlist gems, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, that's kind of the way that the industry has, for the most part, always been. I mean, you take it back to the 40s, 50s, it was all singles. And then the 60s came around, and then you had a bunch of weird, freaky hippies like, we're going to put out 47 minutes worth of acid music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then once again, somewhere around, I would say the aughts, like somewhere in the mid 2000s, it started kind of going back to singles again. You know what I mean? To where once again, you're getting these curated playlists, and you're getting these tastemakers who really only have time for one of your songs, not your whole record. And I get it. You know what I mean? I understand. But so once again, just trying to keep that in mind. You know what I mean? Making stuff and then putting it out one by one, just so people could, digest it more easily instead of getting the whole Kilfeather experience,
Yeah. Most prog metal fans are pretty offended by the Spotify thing nowadays, but that's their own thing. But speaking of because I know we were talking about briefly about booking shows. You played your first show recently, I believe. As of recording this, we're recording this the week before the album comes out. But earlier on Monday, there was video that went up on your Facebook that you described as the first show. How'd that go?
Yeah, so that was just the first show with this with this lineup. So not my first show, but
okay.
First show with this particular lineup in San Diego. Went really well. Had a really great crowd. Really great response. And we, ended up just after that show getting another one, and then playing that show, and then getting another one. So you know what I mean? Like that's kind of how it snowballs into the booking effect is, you just kind of get your name out there, you start playing, and then when people hear the absolute ferocious sound that us 3 dudes, make,
absolutely,
like I said, then it just gets into further booking and further opportunities, and people like, oh my God, I didn't know you existed, or something. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh my God, who is this guy? I have no idea. Oh my God. So
is that a mutated Jack White? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, but let's talk about this new lineup. I was looking when I was coming up with questions for this podcast interview. I came across one you did about 4 months ago, which was on the To the Fullest podcast with Jason Froberg, I believe is how you pronounce the name. And you were with the drummer Mike McGinnis, I believe. Is he still with the project, or has he moved on?
Yes. So Mike, he currently lives in Vegas. And I'm still, we still try to jam and do stuff as much as possible. Once again, me being here and him being there, our schedules are just kind of conflicting right now. But yeah, I mean, him and I, we actually recorded another record that has not been released or finished yet. So that we're still kind of working on.
How many records do you have in the process right now?
Okay. In the process, 5.
Oh my God.
So I have 5 in the process, and Armchair Revolutionaries will be my 34th.
Oh my God. I swear, psychiatrists and burnout specialists are currently losing their fucking minds right now. Holy shit. 5. Right. I can barely handle a single EP in like one day. How the fuck are you doing 5 at once?
You know what? The complete lack of mental health is probably the answer.
That'll do it.
But no, I mean, you know what? I've been writing my whole life, man. I mean, my first experience with music was recording on a little tape deck that my father's sister bought me when I was very young, when I was, cognitive enough to be able to push the buttons. I just started recording myself. I didn't play any instruments, but just, plugged in a little microphone and pretended to be somebody, you know what I mean? So I do little skits and little songs and stuff like that. And then eventually in my pre-teens, I picked up a guitar and started, playing Dead Kennedys and Misfits songs. So after that, then it was just like, oh, I should record these and I should put it together. So then, a long time of just various bands and different projects and trying to, get my sea legs acclimated, it was just, it was all downhill from there. So,
and it all rolled down from there. Yeah, exactly. I think that usually is how it goes for most musicians that start after years of experimenting with their tape decks. You said pretty good start, I'd say. Yeah, not too bad start. But going back to on the podcast you were on previously, you mentioned on that podcast that when it comes to the creative process that you have, that your mindset is that you like to do try new things and experiment as much as possible. Is that mindset like how you do things? Does it come naturally, or is that something that you actively watch out for when you're writing for your music?
So I mean, that's a good question, man. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. It's kind of a mixed bag, I believe it was recently, even though I could absolutely care less about John Mayer. John Mayer said it best when he said, if you can't ad lib, then you're not doing it right. You know what I mean? If you can't just come up with stuff creatively on the fly, you got to think about it in the perspective of when a band gets signed to like a big independent or a major, and they'll say, okay, we'll give you a 2-record deal and we need it done by this time. I mean, if you've watched that Beatles Get Back documentary, that's a perfect example of you have 2 weeks, you got to get in the studio, you got to record a record, and that record's got to sell. You know what I mean? So you could see those dudes, they're ad-libbing. They're just kind of jamming along and going, oh, what rhymes with Arizona? You know what I mean? It's, so like I said, it's a mixed bag. I mean, I don't really write songs, you know what I mean? I just kind of hear them in my head, and, and then it kind of just, once again, let me go over here.
Sure.
I don't really write them. I kind of just hear them in my head. And then what I try to put on record, that is just my recreation of trying to hear those sounds. You know what I mean? Because it's me, I'll record something and go, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound, until my brain goes, yeah, that sounds good. That's okay, that's what I heard. You know what I mean? And it's for the most part, a lot of my records, I'd say 90% of them, maybe even more, are me. It's just me on drums, bass, guitar, vocals, production, the bells and whistles. You know what I mean? I do have a producer I've worked with in Las Vegas named Brian Garth from a really good band out there called Black Camaro. And, he's helped me produce and stuff like that and write and kind of make things more pop formula, if you want to say that. But for the most part, it's all me, man. And I once again, I kind of just go with go with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really ever sit there pen to paper and go, okay, what rhymes with this? Okay, what chord structures go with this? No, man, I just do. You know what I mean? And I think that that's another thing that people have not really taken into too much perspective when that, you know, I have friends who are like, oh, you're on your however many records. I haven't even heard the first one. You know what I mean? So it's I just keep constantly creating. I keep constantly creating, and it's a lot of it is just on the fly, ad lib, just whatever comes from the ethereal cosmos. You know what I mean? And then once again, and that's just kind of what, you know, what I put down on wax, so to speak, so that I could just be satisfied with, you know, the dream song that I heard in my previous state of slumber. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know there's plenty of songwriters that are like that too. I've spoken to many of them that have the similar mindset. I know I am kind of starting to get into that myself with my own songwriting stuff, but I've definitely been there where I've sat down and I'm like, okay, I'm hearing something in my head, but I want to make sure that I'm doing, just putting it down, experimenting, tweaking it as much as possible until it's something that I'm satisfied with afterwards. But yeah, I think that being able to just sit down and just let your brain just kind of puke all over the song sheet. That's I think it's an interesting way a great way even to get something written down, which brings us to the new album, Armchair Revolutionaries. So according to the press release that I was sent, the album, quote, exposes a less than flattering reflection of our divided existence through a compelling array of energizing tracks, which, funnily enough, I never would have guessed based on the fucking album cover. But what was going through your head when you were writing the album? Was all of that going on at the time? Because I know you were talking about just letting it all out. Was that going through your mind at the time when you were writing?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, so the record is very much just about, you know, this kind of displaced society, you know, like right now, especially in these awkward times, we have such polarizing views and such information and misinformation. You know, it's no wonder people are going so crazy. You know what I mean? So this record is very much about that. You know, Armchair Revolutionaries, by definition, is someone who just pontificates what you could do and what needs to be done from the comfort of their home or they're behind their computer, or, you know what I mean? It's someone who really doesn't want to take action. It's someone who really is just like, you know, complete laziness as far as when it comes to our responsibility in society. You know what I mean? Like, we have this responsibility, especially here in the States, of like, you know, democracy, man. We're supposed to be responsible. We're supposed to, you know, have our hand and have our say in what happens. But unfortunately, that's not the case nowadays. And once again, you have such polarizing views that this record is very much just about that mental health or lack thereof. You know, man. I mean, like, I struggle a lot with some depression and some, you know, anxiety and stuff like that. And music is my outlet to kind of help that and quell that. So this record, like I said, it's very much just about that, like, you know, that that fucked up political spectrum. You know what I mean? That weird, this weird tension that we all feel right now when it comes to, like, you know, let's just say the vote or the vaccine or what you have between your legs. Like, all of these things are fucking so irrelevant to the scope of the universe. But we tend to pick these, you know, colored sides, whether it be red or blue or whatever. Like, it just, like, to me, it's all ridiculous. You know, it's all ridiculousness. Like, there's no reason why, you know, love can't reign supreme, man, but we're the ones stopping it. You know what I mean? So like I said, this record, a lot of that went into it, and a lot of that, like, that perspective of, man, we're struggling. You know what I mean? Humanity right now, we're at this weird precipice of, like, do we want to spiritually evolve, or do we just want our Starbucks and American Idol? Like, you know, we kind of have to choose. And unfortunately, you know, like, you know, I try not to be too judgmental when it comes to people's, like, likes or what they need or what they want. I used to be very close-minded. You know, I used to listen to just punk exclusively. If you weren't punk, if you didn't listen to punk, it was lame. You know what I mean? But then when I got older and I started
Poser, you don't listen to punk, that kind of thing.
Right, exactly. When I got a little bit older and a little bit more sophisticated and started branching out, listening to more music, pretty much just exclusively the Grateful Dead and Jimi Hendrix. I fucking, I got back into the mindset of like, you know what? Fuck it. If you like what you like, I mean, if you want to dance to Panic at the Disco, go for it. More power to you. You know what I mean? Like, I might not like it. I might not buy the ticket or the record, but hey, it makes someone feel good. Why not, man? You know what I mean? So it's like there's this contention once again with like, oh, we've got to chase this sound or we've got to chase this trending thing.
I think we may have lost Kevin here. We may have lost Kilfeather. Okay, you said that is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, you got lost for a second there. We lost you in the ethos of the interwebs. So, but yeah,
sorry.
so that's how.
Sorry, I had to blip out to another planet real quick.
Yeah, no worries. We've been there. We've had to commit, do interplanetary travel just to get our internet to fucking work. But I could tell, like, based off of your response there from the previous question, that I'm guessing this is something that wasn't just something that was on mind at the time of writing this album. This is something that you seem to be very passionate about. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, like, once again, music is my outlet. Music is my thing, which I'm sure it is many. Music is my way of decompressing and figuring out this strange thing called life. You know what I mean? And to be honest, I'm not a huge music listener. You know what I mean? I often say like, I really only listen to dead people, you know what I mean? And that's not
You're more of a music writer than a listener.
Exactly. I mean, like, dude, the chocolate maker's not eating the chocolate. You know what I mean? They're just making it all day. Or like, I contributed a lot to a chef. Like, chef in the kitchen is making food all day. When they go to eat, they're eating over a trash can real quick. You know what I mean? Like they're not sitting down and enjoying a 5-star meal, like they're cooking all day. And then when they get home, they're like, all right, cool. Let me get a bag of Cheetos and go to sleep.
Yeah. It's like, what is the nearest, what's the nearest garbage I can find on Uber Eats?
Absolutely. Yeah. But so like, as much as not an avid heavy music fan, despite the fact that I play a lot of heavy music, like I said, it's therapy for me. So it's just something that I could kind of, once again, we're all trying to figure out this thing called life. We're all trying to figure out this strange existence. And I think that music is one of those maps. It's one of those guides. You know what I mean? If you just let it will take you to very high places.
Part 1 of my interview with Kilfeather. The new album is Armchair Revolutionaries. Check it out. Links are down in the podcast description. We'll continue our chat about all this and much more next time. Coming up, Atavistia are doing some fun stuff with a shirt design, but first, let's get into the metal news of the week right here on the Metal Robot Podcast. This week's Metal News Recap is brought to you by My Sanity.
Everything is so depressing! Why?
To stay up to date with the latest in the metal scene, check out themetalrobot.com for videos, reviews, press, and so much more. Now,
Back into the podcast. Presented by themetalrobot.com. This is MRP News.
Oh boy, there's a lot that happened this week. So much, I don't think I can get to everything that was talked about, but let's see how much I can get through before my brain explodes into 20 million pieces and the cat has to lick it off the floor. And let's start with, you know what we're about to talk about. Let's get into it.
Tommy Lee is not shy. He fully displayed his hog on social media.
That's a wild boar. That's not a hog.
Okay, I don't know what's worse, Tommy Lee's Twitter or that entire TMZ clip. I'll let you be the judge. Tommy Lee did a thing that nobody should really be surprised by, and yet people are. It involves the infamous Tommy Lee's dog. I don't know why there was a gong sound effect for that. The Motley Crue drummer got very comfortable with himself on social media this past week, and since then, people have been losing their minds all over again. Hey, if the 80s can get brought back in all its glory and shame, why can't we do the same for the 90s, am I right? Now, Tommy's Mr. Wiggle has since then been taken down by Meta's Facebook and Instagram, but is still up on Twitter for the whole world to see. And it's not like this was accidental either, by the way, just so we're clear. He knew what he was doing. So much so, when a fan made an artistic tribute to the Wonder Muscle, he posted that to his Instagram, which is still up at the time of this recording. And that has sparked a different controversy, with a CNN journalist pointing out the double standard this has set. Quote, so Tommy Lee can post a picture of his penis on Instagram that's still up 3 hours later, but a picture of my curvy booty in a thong bikini gets taken down? Cool. Now, she's referring specifically to the art tribute photo, in case you were confused. As mentioned, the original one was taken down. Which, fair point on all of that, though some have argued that because it's art, it should be fine to stay up. To that I say, I've seen many female models do photo art where they're not even, not wearing no clothes, but they're more scantily clad. You still can't see anything. And yet, even then, they're still banned from Instagram. Yes, art is subjective, but I think we need to remind Lizardberg that if he has terms of service set up, it should be enforced for everybody, regardless of gender or where you're from. And if you're not going to have equal enforcement of rules, then maybe don't enforce them at all. That's all I'm saying. Now, for this next story, I want to talk about journalistic due diligence, because apparently TikTok user Serena Trueblood doesn't seem to know what that means, thanks to their series Is Your Fave Problematic?
Welcome back to Is Your Fave Problematic?
Where they go into an artist's history and find some shit that's not okay in today's standards. The next target? Metallica. I won't go into too much detail, as Nick Nocturnal has already done a fantastic video breaking down everything that's talked about in the TikTok and why there are some good points, but also a lot of shit that's fucking reaching so hard. But I think I can add something to this, because it's important to clarify a lot of the stuff that was talked about, because the TikTok has spread like crazy. Gen Z wants to cancel Metallica, and it's all presented as hard black and white fact, while also ignoring the gray areas that people might want to know about. By the way, before I go any further, a couple things. One, please don't harass this person. I know most of the shit I'll be talking about is really stupid and is a fault on their part, but Metallica fans are already force-feeding them shit as it is, so, don't be an asshole, don't pile on. Also, for transparency's sake, I know I am not a journalist. I do have a show here that is journalistic by nature, and I know some people have said that I am a journalist, but I don't see myself as a journalist. I never went to school for journalism. Most of the work is done by other actual journalists, and I'm just presenting it again in my own way. But I feel that I am confident enough to talk about this because I have a background in broadcasting, and I've rubbed elbows with enough award-winning journalists in my time in radio that I feel I'm confident enough to talk about this in full here. So, with that in mind, the problem that I have with this TikTok is that journalistic integrity goes out the window, because the TikTok is just showing us photos and videos out of context of members of the band doing some really dumb shit. Some of it, I'll give credit, looks really bad. But for every Jason Newsted goose-stepping on stage, even if it's a joke, it's still not great, there's pointing out James's Iron Cross guitar, where we are informed
Iron crosses are neo-Nazi dog whistle symbols.
Oh god. Okay, this is the second point too. Right out of the gate of the second point in this TikTok, while technically correct, that statement is extremely misleading. Because while ADL.org does list the Iron Cross in their hate symbol database, they're careful to clarify which version. The specific Iron Cross they feature has a superimposed swastika in the center, which is a hate symbol. But the article goes on to clarify that an Iron Cross in isolation, such as the one James has on his guitar, quote, cannot be determined to be a hate symbol. Which makes sense when you think about it. First of all, the status is disputed all over the internet. Some do want it to be classified, while others don't think it should. It makes sense. The Iron Cross in isolation was used by the German military long before Hitler was even born. Also, you'll still see it today, either by some clothing companies or even, wait for it, the Canadian military. No joke, look up Victoria Cross, the highest decoration of military valor for the Canadian Armed Forces, and if you take away the lion, the crown, and the pro-valor tag, it's literally an Iron Cross. The funny part is I found all of this from 3 minutes on Google, something that a TikToker stirring up some shit is probably not gonna do. To quote Mark Twain, first get your facts straight, then distort them at your leisure. Then there's also the classic old photo of early 20s James and Lars doing the Nazi salute in a part of Berlin where Nazis did do some bad shit, which sure is not great, it's absolutely stupid, but you can usually tell when someone is serious about their racism and when they're just kids who don't know any better trying to be funny. Like, I know it's still a bad thing to do, but Come on, James is literally doing a finger mustache. Is it really moronic and look bad? Absolutely. Does it mean they're racist, though? I don't think it does. What is racist, though, is this other allegation.
Because Ice-T was supposed to join us on the tour, he said, I don't want to share my stage with a N-word.
Oh, boo! Boo, James, boo! Why didn't you start with that one? That is obviously way more appalling if that's true. That's an important point I want to make here, though. If it's true. Because this is where journalistic due diligence comes in and journalistic integrity is very important. The only sources listed here is Roberta Freeman, a backup singer for Guns N' Roses during that tour, and Axl Rose. Keep in mind, this story is taking place around the early 90s, and if you knew anything about Axl from that time period and how much alcohol and drugs were in his system 24/7, you'd know he wouldn't even be a credible source to use in a murder trial, even if he was the only witness to the murder. I'm not saying he's lying, by the way. He could be telling the truth here, but it could also be a distorted reality from that time. I'm not saying he's lying, and I'm not saying it didn't happen. And I'm not even going to go into the other shit in Axl's own troubled past that people are quick to point out, because that is an entire podcast right there. But the point of journalistic due diligence is finding out who your sources are before using them, but also understanding that even if Axl was credible, this is still a hearsay controversy, with two people saying something happened, but no proof of the contrary. Again, not saying it didn't happen, and if it did, James absolutely should be held accountable and thrown off his fucking platform. But a hearsay controversy is a very important distinction, because hearsay is a hear story, and a hear story is not history. And it's important to make that distinction rather than just spouting a story as fact with only these two sources. Now, one thing I'll also point out here is a critique of the band's stand against racism.
Metallica doesn't give a shit, all right? We don't give a shit about the differences, okay? We care about the similarities. We don't care who you voted for, what you do or don't eat. We don't care what color your skin is, what you do for a job. We don't care what you've done in the past. What we do care about is the fact that we're all together here celebrating life with music.
And you know, that is a pretty standard metalhead mentality, so no wonder it got a lot of praise. But Serena Trueblood didn't see that.
Then there was this statement that he was praised for speaking out against racism, even though at the beginning of it they talk about how they don't care who you voted for, as if Trump supporters weren't supporting racist policies. If you care enough about racism to denounce it, then you should probably care about who people are voting for, because those people influence policies that are racist.
Oh my god, why is Gen Z so quick to make everything political? Okay, A, don't make this political. Totally unnecessary. Like, unless they're actively saying Trump supporters are the best. You're stretching so far that even Elastigirl is jealous. B, look, Serena Trueblood, can I call you Serena? It's very obvious that you have no idea who this band actually is, nor have any idea about the community and culture that these guys come from of metal. Because while you were busy trying to turn this innocent kind of statement and make it political, you failed to even attempt to understand that this quote Metallica made is a metalhead mentality. It's a metalhead way of thinking. We metalheads come from all backgrounds and all walks of life. It doesn't matter what your race, gender, sexual orientation, creed, and politics are, because we all have in common our love of metal music. Sure, it comes in different forms and different tribes of subgenres, such as thrash metal with Metallica, or even Killswitch Engage with metalcore, but at the end of it all, we're all metalheads. We, in general, as a consequence, are not tolerant of intolerance. Sure, some pockets do hold racist views. I'm not saying those don't exist. But on the whole, as a metal community, we thrive on loyalty and togetherness, despite what most would probably think. And that, my friend, is the context to a point that you try to use against the band. Context I shouldn't have to provide for you. Look, at the end of it all, cancel culture, when directed properly and done right, can be a powerful and important part of today's society. I know it's popular to not take cancel culture seriously and to denounce it entirely, but people do egregious things, and those people need to be held accountable. The problem comes when bullshit like this gives cancel culture a bad rap, makes it not be taken seriously, because people find a bunch of shit in someone's past that looks bad on the surface, but don't do the basic shit that you learn in first-year journalism to confirm whether it's true. Actually, let me amend that, because I'm not even a journalism student, and yet somehow I did the basic first step of doing a hit piece, and I went to Google to confirm my sources and make sure that I'm giving the facts straight, so I know I'm not going to be presenting you with any falsehoods. And to be fair, I am not saying that I'm the better journalist because I went to Google. I'm saying that journalistic integrity is something that you absolutely need to have if you wish to be taken seriously in this. And yes, in this TikTok, there is some stuff that is egregious. A lot of it is just tasteless dark humor, which is pretty standard in metal. But the rest of it, as mentioned, can be easily discredited. Now, if you want to look further into all of this, I've linked the full TikTok as well as the various sources I used in this piece in the podcast description if you want to look further into it. But all I'm saying is that it's a sad day when a 24-year-old straight white male comedian with a microphone did more journalistic due diligence than a TikToker trying to label a band as problematic. Like, if I can give one word of advice that you're not going to listen to, because I feel like you've checked up at this point, I can say this: make cancel culture not a thing that is hated upon, but something that can actually be taken seriously if you want this stuff to be taken seriously. Above all else, do better. Whew, we took a bit with that one. We got one more I do want to mention. I'll make it quick. Spotify is getting into the ticket selling game. Tickets.spotify.com is the address, and it's set up as the new place to purchase concert tickets rather than doing what they'd done previously and redirect to Ticketmaster. As the site read, quote,
"Your destination for live events by creators you love. Ticketed by Spotify."
Which I know I just read like I'm a HAL 8000 or something, but it just reads like that, doesn't it? I can't be the only one getting dystopian Monopoly vibes. Now, as of recording, only 7 artists are featured on the site, none of which are metal, but if this site picks up steam, it's possible we'll see massive expansions into more venues and more genres. The site launched officially this past Wednesday, August 10th, according to Pitchfork.com. Fun fact, originally called
"Daddy didn't give me enough love as a child, so now I have a website."
.com. But as mentioned, with only 7 artists, this is basically a beta test, which was confirmed by a Spotify spokesperson talking to Billboard, metal's favorite music ranking website. Right now, it's still not clear how artists can partner with the platform to be included in the live page, nor is it clear what the ticketing fees will look like, because you just know that has to be a thing. But when we find out more, I'll be sure to let you know. And that's it for this week's Metal News Recap. There were a few more stories I did want to cover, but I couldn't for timing purposes. But I will say, at the very least, to end this off, the Black Sabbath being urged by British members of Parliament to be honored by the Queen thing is such an awesome thing I didn't expect. If anything changes with that, or if the Queen responds to that, I'll do a piece on it next time. Apart from that, if there are any stories I may have missed or anything you want me to cover on future episodes of the podcast, let me know. I'll be happy to try and squeeze it into the show during the weekly Metal News Recap. Coming up, we bring on Atavistia's Matt Cipolla all the way from Victoria, British Columbia to talk about a fun joke that the band made about their own music in the form of a t-shirt. This is the Metal Robot Podcast. We'll be right back.
Looking to stay up to date on all things Metal Robot?
No, not really.
What? Why?
I don't listen to metal.
How are you listening to this podcast?
I thought it was Joe Rogan.
We're gonna pretend he didn't say that. Follow the show wherever you tread on social media.
Facebook and Twitter.
At The Metal Robot.
Instagram.
At The Metal Robot.
You can even join the Metal Robot Discord server.
We have fun there. Links to all of that and more in the description of this podcast. Follow
now. Let's open the gates. For Astaroth has risen. And the demon has gone core.
Wait, the story is the demon has gone core? I don't get it.
Just wait for the drop.
What the fuck?
From the ashes of ascendance, Astaroth is born again.
Enter the world of Sam Astaroth with his new song, Demon Core.
Available on all streaming.
Music video available on YouTube.
Links in the podcast description. You're listening to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast.
Tom McKay on the podcast, the Metal Robot Podcast. Hope you're enjoying yourself here. If you can tell by that sound, we have Atavistia here. Wait. Oh, shit. 1 second. I played Winter Sun going into this by mistake. Hold on. I'm dumb. 1 second. Everything was relabeled, so now I just gotta fire the robot assistant. 1 second. Is this one? Ah, there you go. Okay, apologies. That is Atavistia, specifically the Forbidden One, off their 2020 album, The Winter Way. And here I thought that kind of mistake only happened to Megadeth at the Grammys.
Megadeth, yeah!
Actually, that reminds me. You see, back in 2020, when I reviewed The Winter Way, I said something along the lines of this.
The closest comparison I can think of is maybe Winter Sun, but even then, those guys are unique in and of themselves, so there's not a lot of concrete reference points.
Well, it turns out that I wasn't the only one who did that. Yeah, originality is fucked at this point. So the band apparently heard quite a lot of people talking about the comparison between their sound and Winter Sun. And what is a band to do when they are compared to somebody else? Well, Atavistia did something that is probably a genius moneymaker and is fucking hilarious. To talk more about this, as well as the announcement of the band's upcoming full-length album, Cosmic Warfare, due out early 2023, I believe, I'm sitting down with Atavistia, specifically Matthew Cipolla, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, right here on the Metal Robot Podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
That's good to hear. So first off, just because this is your first time on this show, people probably are like, who the fuck is this guy? I don't know. So let's get a brief history. Who are you? Who is the band? Where are you guys from? And how long have you been around? And what would you describe your sound as?
Sure. I'm Matthias Cipolla, and I formed the band Atavistia from Vancouver, BC, Canada. Back in 2017, when I released the debut album, One Within the Sun. And I didn't have any plans for it to become a live project immediately, but it was pretty well received. And pretty negatively received as well.
as things usually are when the first time they come out.
Of course. And then about a year later, I met up with my bassist, Dwayne, for the first time. Actually, sorry, I met my guitarist, Dalton, back in 2016 when he was touring with one of his other bands. I think he was just helping out at the time. And we got talking at a show, and we were big fans of Winter Sun. And I said, hey, I started a project that sounds a little bit like Winter Sun. And he was, all in after that. So, 2018, mid 2018 is when the full band became a live thing. And then we had our first show in December of 2018. So that was exciting.
That's pretty cool. Now, as you mentioned, because you guys like Winter Sun so much, the sound has been, from what I understand, heavily compared to Winter Sun. What was your initial reaction to that comparison, the criticism, compliment? I have no idea. How did you take it the first time?
Well, I was younger when that happened. And
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, it's like my first introduction into having my music out in the world. So the vast majority of responses were great, and that was like a huge ego boost, obviously. But then the handful of negative ones were like soul crushing.
No, why did you not like it?
Yeah, exactly. But now that I'm getting a little older, I'm maturing a bit, and I'm realizing that it takes time for bands to find their own sound. And I believe with this upcoming album, we've truly found our own sound. So
awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear that. Now, let's talk about the shirt a bit further. So Hellsauna is the name of the shirt. It's up for pre-order now, and you can grab it in the description of this podcast. It looks like, from what I understand, it's a hot-looking group of Winter Sun employees in a sauna from the fiery depths of Mordor. And on the back of the shirt, it just says, "We know." Which, what was the inspiration behind that shirt? Something to do with the comparisons that you were getting?
Well, so actually, I was live streaming on Twitch one day, and someone in the comments section just said, you guys should just lean into it and maybe make a shirt item that says "We know." And so we did.
Hell yes. I think that was probably the best response that we could have gotten from like that kind of thing. Usually I've seen bands crash and burn when criticisms come or compliments, depending on how you take them, come up where they're like, no, we don't. We sound unique. I promise, love us. But in your case, you guys just leaned right into the joke at this point and turned it into your own inside joke.
Oh yeah. At first it was, it was playing with the emotions like, oh my God, is this bad? Is this good? Are we complete rip-off copycats? Some say yes, some say no. But again, like the older you get, you're like, okay, now it's time to kind of find your own sound. We found our foundation, and that was a sound like Winter Sun. And now we can kind of expand. Because the thing with Winter Sun, I believe Yari created a whole genre in his own. So any band that gets a little bit of influence from that is immediately recognized as almost copycatting, if you catch my drift there.
Yeah. Now, what was the inspiration behind the design of the shirt? Because again, it's like, I can't imagine that this would have just immediately been like, oh, the first thing that popped in my head as I woke up, or a random wet dream later. And it's like, here we are.
Well, as a band, we kind of talked about ideas, and we kind of came to the idea of, us kind of infiltrating the sauna aspect of, the whole controversy with Winter Sun and Yari just spending all his time in a sauna.
Yeah.
we thought that we'd break in and kind of, take over the sauna realm for a little bit.
How's that been going so far? Has he kicked you out yet? Or has he just kind of like has not been aware of your presence yet?
Well, if you look at the imagery, he's still there. Kind of.
Okay. Fair enough. So let's talk about as well, because you announced as well a new album that's coming out. There's been no further details about it, but we do know the name of this album is Cosmic Warfare. We also know that the possible release date is towards like the towards early 2023. Which, unless you ask the trolls, in which case they'll tell you that the album is just time 2.756 or something stupid. What else? What else can you tell us about this upcoming album? What juicy details can we get?
Lots of blast beats.
I cannot wait now. Sold!
No, there's we've kind of gone into the space realm. There's a lot of space elements and crazy synthesizers, lots of blast beats, and yeah, just in a realm where we truly feel that we're kind of calling our own, and it feels nice.
And now this album is expected early 2023. So do you have a more specific date in mind, or is that the general ballpark that you're aiming for?
Well, at first we wanted to have it released by December, and then we're like, maybe January, February, most likely March sometime.
Mm-hmm. And is that still set in stone, or do you think that might change at some point? Do you think something could go wrong? Hope to God, knock on wood, nothing goes wrong.
Well, yeah, always knock on wood for nothing to go wrong. But we've kind of set our own deadlines to have everything completed 2 to 3 months before that. So we can then just, push everything and get that going.
Now, you said it's about space. Now, what before the Winter Wait, was that as far as I understand, I can't really remember much of it, but what was that more of a concept album? Okay. Thank you. I'm not the only one. Was that like a concept album of some kind, The Winter Way?
I don't really have like hard concepts for my lyrics or music. It's soft concept, sure. Like all the songs they kind of sound like they're related, but not, like a full on Karachangren album where from start to finish, it sounds like an entire story. I'm not good enough lyricist for that.
And would you say like that's the same thing we're going to expect with Cosmic Warfare, or have you? Okay, I was about to say, have you dived into like, there's a Star Wars but metal? Wait, so that's
you just gave me a great idea.
Ooh, I cannot wait for that one to come out in like 500 years. So that's pretty cool. Now, should we expect more t-shirt designs that in the future around this kind of inside joke, or is this the only one? Like, is this going to be a limited edition kind of thing?
Well, I think we're going to push this one as far as we can. It's our favorite design so far. So,
all right, that's pretty cool. And I know that for the pre-order, you guys need, from what I understand, 24 sales to be able to print. What's the details about that? Is there like something that the t-shirt printing company has that you have to do, or is this like a logistical thing?
The t-shirt printing company, their minimum is 24 for each batch. So we got to get that and We got it, so it's fine.
That's pretty good, and it's coming in all forms. I'm guessing it's like regular T-shirts, and I believe tanks are part of it as well. Or is that incorrect?
So the pre-order is just the T-shirts. We printed tank tops, but those are going to only be exclusive for our live shows.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
No, go on. What were you saying?
I was just going to say they were going to only be exclusive for the Loud as Hell festival that we just played, but we didn't make a lot of sales, so we're just gonna have those be for all of our upcoming shows until we sell out of those. And
Fantastic.
Then we'll see about the tank tops.
All right, and the tank tops for now are just gonna be at the live shows. You won't put them up on the website or anything of that sort, right?
Nope. Just for live shows.
All right. Well, if you want a sweet tank, you better go see Atavistia live. So this interview was fairly short. We'll be keeping this kind of short for the podcast, but I do have one final question for you. As this is your first time on the podcast, you must be asked this specific question. If you could be any cereal box character, who would you be?
Count Chocula.
I swear to God, at some point I need to put a rule in, like, please, no more Count Chocula, because everybody keeps saying it.
Oh, God damn it.
Okay.
I thought I was going to be unique there. I guess that's twice now where I think I'm being unique, but others think that I'm sounding like someone else. Woo!
Ayo! You know what? I think you just gave me a t-shirt design idea. Holy shit. Thank you so much. All right, so Atavistia, the latest album is The Winter Way, a fantastic, epic, blackened something metal album. The new shirt is Hell Sauna. It's up for pre-order. Get it soon. They need, as mentioned, 24 sales to print. And who doesn't want a funny shirt to add to their all-black shirt collection? So, Matthew, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your time.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
All right, that was Atavistia. Go check out their music. Check out the shirts. The guys have a great sense of humor about that stuff. And honestly, do make some pretty great sounding music as well. This is the Metal Robot Podcast.
You just listened to MRP, the Metal Robot Podcast.
The Reign of Fire has begun, so let's wrap this episode up right here. We won't be back until next week, the weekend of the 26th. So in the meantime, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and following me on all socials for updates on all things Metal Robot. We'll be back around the week from now with Kilfeather and much more. In the meantime, thanks for listening to the Metal Robot Podcast. You can follow the show on the internet, YouTube Metal Robot Reviews, Facebook and Twitter at The Metal Robot, Instagram at The.MetalRobot. And you can also check out everything Metal Robot on themetalrobot.com for videos, podcasts, press, and so much more. Special thanks to Matt Cipolla of Atavistia, Kilfeather as well for joining me. And as always, spinning the wheels of vengeance is co-producer Anna. Great job once again. I'm Tom McKay. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. I'll see you in the mosh pit next time. Have a good night.